Starting a career in cybersecurity feels impossible, right? There's so much advice out there, too many paths, and how do you know where to start? Some people will tell you that you need a degree, some people will tell you need a certification, and then there's a different group of people that tell you that the only way to get into cybersecurity is through help desk and through IT. In fact, they'll tell you you'll need at least 5 years of experience before you can even think about cybersecurity, because cybersecurity is not a beginner career field. Well, I will tell you that all of that is BS. I've been there, and I started my career without having a certification, and I started my career before I even had a degree. With 7 years of experience in the field and over 4 different jobs in cybersecurity, I've been there. I've also been searching for the correct path. I've gone through all of it. So I want to share my advice and share my experience with you on how you can do the same as me. I've been in your shoes. I also didn't know where to start. I also did not know where to begin. I was as confused as you probably are. So let's sort through this mess, shall we? There are many factors involved when you're getting your first cybersecurity job, starting your cybersecurity career, or even getting into cybersecurity. There are lots of variables, and if you are strategic about it and you line all of them up, they make you a very strong candidate to get your foot in the door. So one of those is experience, and that seems like the main focus of most of the creators that are talking about this topic. Most of the videos I've seen on YouTube from different creators, they're very informative, very good, but the only thing they focus on is experience. But there are also other factors like having a resume, a good resume. You can't just willy-nilly write some resume, submit it, and then hope that you get a job. It has to be a professionally written resume. It has to show your skill set and your worth. And the other part is the interview process itself. How good are you at interviewing? How good are you talking about your weaknesses? How good are you talking about your strengths? The interview process is as important as experience. It's as important as the resume. And also the job market demand. If you're getting into the cybersecurity career and the only thing that you want to do is ethical hacking or pen testing or hacking or all the secret squirrel type stuff, it's going to be a bit harder for you to get your foot in the door or get a job in that specific niche. There has to be a demand for the position that you are applying for, and sometimes it might not align with your desires, it might not align with what you want to do for cybersecurity, but that is the way to go if you want to get your foot in the door. Next one is salary expectations. What do you expect to be paid for your first career, first job in cybersecurity? If it's something over 6 figures, I don't want to be rude, but good luck. You're not going to get it. And that's the reality. You have to be flexible. It's very important for you to realize that your first job is not going to pay you 6 figures unless you're very lucky, straight out of college, and you made some connections, networking. What you need to focus on while you're in college, while you're working on your certification, or if you're in that IT help desk job, is getting the experience. The experience is invaluable. It is worth more than what you're being paid for hourly. So the first 1.5 to 2 years should be focused on getting experience in the field. And I will talk about that a little bit more. And as I mentioned before, you have to be strategic. You have to work on all these things. You have to have your resume lined up. You have to be good at the interview process. You have to anticipate what kind of questions they might be asking about a position that you applied for. And also you have to understand the job market, understand what the demand is, and you will be successful in getting that first job. There's a lot of advice on YouTube, on Reddit. I'm in a couple of Reddit groups, a couple of Discord servers, and this question comes up a lot. How do I start in cybersecurity? And every time I hear conflicting information, I hear confusing information, even for me, who's been in the industry and has experience in the industry. And a lot of the advice is really bad advice. A lot of advice is from people that have gotten into cybersecurity a particular way. They have their own story. The way that they got into the field might not work out for you. So I'm going to cover 3 to 4 different pathways that you can take and pick from, or you can even combine them to get into the field. This video is intended for people that have 0 experience in IT, 0 experience in cybersecurity. This is for people that they're thinking about starting, they don't know how or where to start, and I hope to clear up some of that confusion. So if you're one of those people, stick around and enjoy this video. And if you're an experienced, seasoned veteran, stick around just for fun. One of the most practical ways to get into cybersecurity is, of course, getting a degree in cybersecurity. Going to college, working for a bachelor's degree, earning a bachelor's degree. But what a lot of people don't realize is when you go to college and you're working on your degree, you don't even have to finish your degree to start in cybersecurity. And I can tell you that I actually did that, and I had zero experience. I had zero certifications, and I didn't even have a degree in cybersecurity, but I was working on a degree, and that's all that mattered. My first job was an internship for an engineering company, and we did cybersecurity assessments for nuclear power plants for the Department of Energy. And that was a very awesome experience. I learned a lot. So I was learning on the job, and I was learning in college, and I was actually applying what I was learning at my internship and vice versa. I was learning the processes, and I gained a lot of valuable information, and I was actually making extra money, and I was able to keep my full-time job while I went to school, and I had a part-time internship that as I was progressing through my degree, getting my degree, I was gaining that experience so that by the time I was done with my bachelor's degree, I would have actual valuable real-world experience in cybersecurity. So why is the degree important? When you'll be studying cybersecurity, the degree will cover a broad range of disciplines in cybersecurity, different concepts, and this is where you're kind of going to learn about the field, of how wide it is and how deep it is. It's a very wide field, it's a very deep field. You can get very specialized in a very particular niche and be an expert at it, and eventually get paid a lot of money to advise and consult people. A degree will open up your perception, your eyes a bit onto the field of cybersecurity and what that looks like. It's also enough to dabble in every discipline of cybersecurity as you're taking classes and courses. You'll be covering different things like ethical hacking. You'll be covering things like network security. You'll be covering GRC stuff, so that's governance, risk, and compliance. A degree will help you make a decision on what you want to specialize in, what niche you want to pick in cybersecurity. You're going to have a taste of what it's going to be like working in cybersecurity. And as I previously discussed in one of my videos, it will also demonstrate that you are teachable. It demonstrates that you can learn complex concepts and you get instant feedback if you learned anything. You get graded, you get grades, you gotta pass your class to move forward in your degree. And I think it's a very good experience, and I think it's definitely worth it going for a cybersecurity degree. And there's also a lot of benefits to having a degree. One is you get to pass that HR sniff test when you apply for a job or a role in cybersecurity. Most job posts, most companies, when they hire cybersecurity people, they ask for at least a bachelor's degree or an X amount of experience. So having a degree kind of expedites that process, opens a whole lot of doors for you. You have a lot of choices of where you can apply. A downside of not having a degree is you have to go the different routes, through certification, which I'll cover, and through getting experience through help desk or IT type work, which can take as long as getting a degree. And a lot of times you'll end up being stuck at the same place, and a lot of times you will get paid a lot less than people that have degrees working for the same company. And a lot of it is done knowingly by companies that they understand that this guy doesn't have a degree, so we'll pay him this much. What choice does he have? He can either stay here or he can try his luck out there and find a different job that pays him more and pay someone that doesn't have a degree. I know that this might upset some people. Some people might not be agreeable with this statement, but I've seen it. I've worked with colleagues that they were taken advantage of by employers because they didn't have a degree, and they got paid a lot less than I did. And here's the crazy part. They actually had a lot more experience than I did. They were more knowledgeable than I was because they gained their experience through actually working in help desk and being passionate about the field, but they just didn't see the value of getting a degree. They didn't see the point of getting a degree because most of the stuff they knew, and a lot of times they knew more than people that had degrees. There's a lot of pros and cons of getting a degree, but I would lean towards starting your career and getting a degree. I would like to know, what are some challenges and some issues that you're facing in starting in cybersecurity? What some of the challenges that you've come across? What are some of the hurdles that are stopping you from progressing, or they're stopping you from starting in cybersecurity? I'm very curious to know, and if you can leave a comment down below, I will try to answer all of them. And you can ask any questions. If you have any suggestions on a topic that you would like me to cover, I'd be more than happy to. Another path of getting into cybersecurity is, of course, through certifications. Certifications are pretty good. They're a pretty good way to start your career in cybersecurity. They demonstrate that you have the knowledge of the subject matter, depending on what certification you get. There's lots of advice. There are a lot of videos out there, a lot of blog posts of people talking about different certification paths and which certifications are the best to start in cybersecurity. In this video, I'm not going to cover that. I'm not going to cover which certification you should get, what certifications work the best, which ones you need to get your first cybersecurity job. All I'm going to tell you is that I was able to start my career in cybersecurity with 0 certifications. In fact, I got my first certification almost 4 years into my career. A lot of people out there with advice that they say certifications are the only way and the only right way to get into cybersecurity. That is absolutely not true. But if you are going the certification route, you might as well learn about the path that you're taking and what certifications are needed for that particular path. What do you want to specialize in? If it's a particular specialization, then you don't need to waste your time on worthless certifications that you're not going to use. As an example, I would suggest to learn about different specializations, different domains in cybersecurity, and most importantly, learn what is trending and if there is a shortage of knowledge. So it's that supply demand that I covered earlier. If you're applying for a position, figure out is there a demand, and there are different ways that you can do that. You can go to LinkedIn, you could go to ZipRecruiter, you could go to Indeed and just search for positions and see how many people apply for that position. If it's a very specialized position and there's a high demand, chances are that with proper training and with preparation, you'll be able to land a job in that specific field and in that particular role. As an example, I will use the SOC analyst example. To get into a SOC analyst position, some of the things that you might want to learn is Splunk. Splunk has a lot of free training on Splunk on their website and on YouTube. You might want to look into incident response processes and procedures, reading publications like NIST, special publication 800-61 revision 3. I will have a link to that document in my description. So if you are interested, just click on it and read through that document. It walks you through the incident response process, and in particular for a SOC. Another thing you can do is you could create a mini SOC at home. There's a lot of open source tools out there. You can use Splunk. They have an evaluation license. I believe it caps out at 500 megabytes of data that you can ingest for your SOC deployment. You can also go for certifications that are specific to SOC work. For those that don't know what a SOC is, it's a SOC, Security Operations Center. So this role that I just described, this is how I would approach finding a job in cybersecurity. I would research what is needed, what certifications are needed, what skills I need to have, and then I would go and work on getting those skills and getting that experience. And of course, earning certifications for that specific role. CompTIA is a pretty good resource. So depending on what you're going for, A+, Network+, Security+ are some of the base certifications that if you don't have any experience in IT or cybersecurity, these are good certifications to go for to get your foundational knowledge. You get your knowledge of hardware, taking the A+ certification. You get knowledge of networking, taking Networking Plus, and then Security Plus gets you a overview of what cybersecurity is about. It covers all sorts of topics of cybersecurity and all different kinds of fields. And then if you want to get even more specialized, so for our example with the SOC, you can look into the CISA certification, CYSA, that's the Cybersecurity Analyst certification for a SOC. Another great way to start in cybersecurity is through help desk or any type of IT experience. And people that take this route usually focus on the networking side and system administration. It's not very focused on security per se. There might be some elements of security, but it's not focused on security. And these are all very good skills to have and experience, but it could also be a challenge to get into. Typical certifications for a help desk role, Network Plus or CCNA, or any type of networking related certification or system administration, different certification paths. There's another path that is gaining popularity. I don't know a whole lot about it, but I would urge you to be cautious and be careful. and that path is cybersecurity bootcamps. So some advice I'll give you is, if you're looking at a bootcamp, look for red flags. And some of the red flags are, crazy claims like start your cybersecurity career in 90 days, or I've seen some that said start your cybersecurity career in 30 days and earn over 6 figures a year, or even in 3 months earn 6 figures. I would say that just stay away from those. Be careful, do your research. I'm sure there's a lot of boot camps that are good out there, but knowing the market now and seeing former colleagues that are looking for work in cybersecurity, even for them it's challenging to get a job in the field with years of experience and certifications and education. I would suggest just be careful. If there's a bootcamp that throws these outrageous claims, I'd be very skeptical. There are a lot of bootcamps, if they're partnered with employers and if they have some sort of a job placement guarantee or a job placement resource, training, what have you, I would consider them, but I would ask them questions. If you are getting onboarded onto their as a student for their bootcamp, I would ask these important questions. What's the job demand? What's the guarantee that after I finish this bootcamp I'll have a job? How long will it take me? And just take note of that. Do some research, ask around, go on Reddit, go on Google, read reviews. Don't just jump into any bootcamp that throws these crazy claims. Anybody can put all sorts of things on their website, claim that they're partners with Google and all these other big tech companies. Just be vigilant. Be careful out there, because these bootcamps are also not cheap. Some bootcamps cost as much as a degree would. So to wrap this up and summarize, I'm going to put it this way. If I started my cybersecurity career from scratch today, I would do exactly what I did when I started. First thing, I enrolled into a cybersecurity degree program, and I was probably halfway through my associate's degree when I got an email from one of the cybersecurity coordinators at the college, and basically that email was a internship opportunity. And at that time I started building out my resume. I started putting some skills that I've learned by that time, and I spent a lot of time on my resume. So I sent my resume to the contact in the email. I introduced myself. I said I would like to get an opportunity for an interview. I would like to gain experience in cybersecurity. And shortly after, I got a response and I had a first interview. So I got my first internship, and I did not care about the money. I did not care how much I was getting paid. All I cared about was getting that experience, because that experience to me wasn't the weight of gold. It was more important than getting a nice salary, although it would have been nice, but that was not my focus. So while I was working as an intern, I was finishing up my degree. And by the time I finished my bachelor's degree, I had almost 2 years of experience in cybersecurity, and that experience was very valuable, and that experience actually landed me my current role, where I make 6 figures a year. And that strategy worked for me, and I also thought that nobody's going to look at me if I don't have any certifications. I need to probably work on certifications. I probably need to at least get a Security Plus. Well, I'm gonna break it to you, I don't have a Security Plus certification. I don't have any of the CompTIA certifications. I do have 2 certifications from SANS that are very expensive, and I was fortunate enough because my employer paid for them, but you don't need certifications to get into cybersecurity. They're not the only requirement. But combining all these things, if you combine your cybersecurity degree, if you combine your certification, and you get an internship, even as a help desk technician somewhere, you combine those 3 things, and now you have a very strong resume that you can actually show, and it'll land you a decent first career.
A great success!
And I'll be covering more of this type of stuff in my future videos. I will be covering on how to build out a resume. I will cover the interview process. I will cover how to write your resume. I will cover some more specifics on some certifications. This video is more of a general overview of what cybersecurity is about, how to get started in cybersecurity, and different ways and approaches to take. And also to encourage you that it is very possible, it's very doable. I did it, and you can do it too. And also, just ignore all the negative comments, ignore all the naysayers, ignore all of the bad advice out there. And you might not know what good advice is, what bad advice is. I'm coming from experience, and I want to tell you that there's a lot of bad advice. And if there's anyone that is aggressively attacking you and telling you that this is the only way that you need to do this, don't listen to them. It's not the only way. There are a lot of ways, a lot of paths that you can take You have to be strategic about it. You have to be intentional about it. And one of the probably best ways that you can view this whole thing is look at yourself as a product. Become marketable. What I mean by that is when you build your resume, that's basically a data sheet about you. It's a sort of document that actually I would call it sales material. This is you selling yourself to get hired, because ultimately when you get hired, companies, employers, they buy your experience, they buy your expertise, they buy your time. So for you to be marketable, look at yourself as a product. What can you add to you? What features, what functions, however you want to look at it. What can you do today to improve yourself, to make yourself worth it? So that when an employer gets your resume, looks at it and says, I want this guy, I want this person to work for us, let's set up an interview, let's interview them, and you will be so much more successful if you treat yourself like a product, because essentially that's what you are. Everybody talks about technical skills and skill set that you need in cybersecurity, that you need to learn all these particular things. Well, I have a video that covers a sort of a different set of skills that you will likely benefit from. They're not technical skills, but I do have a video on that. So if you're interested, hit this little box here and enjoy my next video. See you there.